Penguin Random House Audio presents The Impeachment Report. The House Intelligence Committee's report on its investigation into Donald Trump and Ukraine. By the House Intelligence Committee. Read for you by Cassandra Campbell, P.J. Ochlan, Brittany Pressley, and Rob Shapiro. With an introduction written and read by Jon Meacham. The Trump-Ukraine Impeachment Inquiry Report. Report of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, pursuant to House Resolution 660, in consultation with the House Committee on Oversight and Reform and the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. December 2019. House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Representative Adam B. Schiff, California, Chairman. Representative Jim Himes, Connecticut. Representative Terry Sewell, Alabama. Representative Andre Carson, Indiana. Representative Jackie Speer, California. Representative Mike Quigley, Illinois. Representative Eric Swalwell, California. Representative Joaquin Castro, Texas. Representative Denny Heck, Washington. Representative Peter Welch, Vermont. Representative Sean Patrick Maloney, New York. Representative Val Demings, Florida. Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, Illinois. Representative Devin Nunes, California, Ranking Member. Representative Mike Conaway, Texas. Representative Michael Turner, Ohio. Representative Brad Wenstrup, Ohio. Representative Chris Stewart, Utah. Representative Elise Stefanik, New York. Representative Will Hurd, Texas. Representative John Ratcliffe, Texas. Representative Jim Jordan, Ohio.
Introduction. This is Jon Meacham. The weather was hot, the stakes high, the debates fraught. In the long Philadelphia summer of 1787, in the stuffy confines of the Pennsylvania State House, later known as Independence Hall, the members of the Constitutional Convention were framing a new government for the nascent United States of America. In conversations about executive power, James Madison of Virginia spoke of the presidency as a unique office that would ideally transcend sectional jealousies. In a speech on Saturday, July 21st, Madison argued the executive magistrate would be considered as a national officer, acting for and equally sympathizing with every part of the United States. To an executive to whom much was given, though, much would be expected, for Madison and his colleagues in Philadelphia shared a tempered, often pessimistic view of human nature. Madison was to write in the Federalist, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary." Given that men were decidedly unangelic, government would require divisions of sovereignty and detailed sanctions to keep things in balance. Hence, an entire constitutional structure was created, one that has served the nation well for nearly 2.5 centuries. Impeachment and removal from office were the ultimate check on presidential power. "Shall any man be above justice?" George Mason asked at the convention. "Above all, shall that man be above it who can commit the most extensive injustice?" For the founders, the answer was no. As the report that follows shows, it is an issue that confronts us even now. The presidency of Donald Trump has challenged or upended innumerable American conventions. In this season, the country is facing a reckoning. Given the story told by the House Intelligence Committee in this document, do Americans believe that such conduct by a president is acceptable at the highest levels? That is the question that lies before the Congress and before the country. A bit more history. In 1776, in his pamphlet Common Sense, Thomas Paine used the term president to describe a chief magistrate. Scholars believe that Paine was the first to use this term for a head of an American government. Even then, more than a decade before the Constitutional Convention, reservations were expressed about investing too much power in a single man. Paine wrote, "But where, say some, is the King of America? I'll tell you, friend, he reigns above, and doth not make havoc of mankind like the royal brute of Great Britain. In America, the law is king." Paine went on to write, "For as in absolute governments the king is law, so in free countries the law ought to be king, and there ought to be no other." The potential power of the presidency, for good or for ill, was always clear. In 1790, John Adams wrote, "His person, countenance, character, and actions are made the daily contemplation and conversation of the whole people." Alexander Hamilton, writing in The Federalist, "Energy in the executive is a leading character in the definition of good government. It is essential to the security of liberty against the enterprises and assaults of ambition, of faction, and of anarchy." By 1810, after 8 years in the office himself, Thomas Jefferson would write, "In a government like ours, it is the duty of the chief magistrate, in order to enable himself to do all the good which his station requires, to endeavor, by all honorable means, to unite in himself the confidence of the whole people. This alone, in any case where the energy of the nation is required, can produce a union of the powers of the whole, and point them in a single direction, as if all constituted but one body and one mind, and this alone can render a weaker nation unconquerable by a stronger one." But how to create this powers of the whole while maintaining a balance among the branches of government? It was this balance that Madison believed essential to safeguarding liberty from overreaching legislators or from grasping presidents, and it remains a perennial and consuming issue. To Madison, foreign interference in elections was a threat from the beginning. It would be, he warned, an object of great moment with the great rival powers of Europe to have at the head of our government a man attached to their respective policies and interests. And what about once the president was in office? The power to impeach was crucial. Writing in a third-person entry in his notes of the Constitutional Convention, Madison wrote that he thought it indispensable that some provision should be made for defending the community against the incapacity, negligence, or perfidy of the chief magistrate. Madison's fears: a president might betray his trust to foreign powers. Loss of capacity or corruption was within the compass of probable events, and either of them might be fatal to the Republic. The convention settled on impeachment by the House with conviction in the Senate, an instance of Madisonian checks and balances. In our time, we are living in a moment marked by demagoguery, reflexive partisanship, and a Hobbesian world of constant and total political warfare. We know all the factors: the return of the kind of partisan media that shaped us in the 18th and 19th centuries, relentless gerrymandering of election districts that has produced few swing congressional seats, the allure of reality TV programming that has blurred lines between entertainment and governance. So what to do? We can begin by reading the following report. In so doing, we will find ourselves at once oriented and informed. Daniel Webster said in 1830, "When the mariner has been tossed for many days in thick weather and on an unknown sea, he naturally avails himself of the first pause in the storm, the earliest glance of the sun, to take his latitude and ascertain how far the elements have driven him from his true course." The fate of this presidency, of the ensuing future elections, and of our true course lies in two sets of hands. The first is in the House and the Senate. The second is the electorate that will determine the outcome of the 2020 election. People of goodwill can disagree about impeachment.